and Prabhuji will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam 7.13.26 verse and onwards. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please take over the call.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for engaging me in the service, and I'm so sorry that I logged in late. I had another call, so okay, we'll start with the invocation prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So, we are the fag end of 7th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. And this chapter that you are all discussing is very instructive one for human society at large, where how a Varnashrama ecosystem and how an ideal society should function, about which lots of instructions are given. So whilst every part of Srimad Bhagavatam is relevant and relatable for us, these two chapters, I mean the last two chapters of 7th canto, they are somewhat addressing for both individual applications as well as they are meant for social reforms. Without following the instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam, one may not be able to apply any sort of a social reform, and without social reform, we are all just simply wasting our human form of life. So we are going to churn some nectar from today's verse, and I had a very less time to look at the verse, so pardon me just in case if I don't do full justice to the verse that we are going to discuss. So this is from 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 23, which is chapter number 15, verse number Krishna. Okay, 7:23-26. That's where we are going to, discuss this. So Srimad Bhagavatam is called Amala Puran, and as a part of our learnings from Srimad Bhagavatam, we are going to change our course of life. So this is Mataji, it is 7:15-26, right? Or
yes,
7?
26. 26 and onwards, yeah.
Yeah, because you mentioned 7:23, so I just thought.
26, sorry, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay. Yasya Shakshad Bhagavati Jnana Deepa Prade Gurau Matsyadihi Shrutam Tasya Sarvam Kunjara Sauchavat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The spiritual master should be considered to be directly the Supreme Lord, because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. Consequently, one who maintains the material conception that spiritual master is an ordinary human being, everything is frustrated. His enlightenment and his Vedic studies and knowledge are like the bathing of an elephant. It is recommended that one honor the spiritual master as being on an equal status with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Saksha Dharidvena Samasta Sastraihi. This is enjoined in every scripture. Acharyam Mam Vijhaniya. One should consider the Acharya to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In spite of all this instruction, if one considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being, one is doomed. His study of the Vedas and austerities performed, austerities and penances for enlightenment are all useless, like the bathing of an elephant. An elephant bathes in a lake quite thoroughly, but as soon as it comes on the shore, it takes some dust from the ground and strews it over its body. Thus, there is no meaning to the elephant's bath. One may argue by saying that since the spiritual master's relative and the men of his neighborhood considered him as an ordinary human being, what is the fault on the part of the disciple who considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being? This will be answered in the next verse. But the injunction is that the spiritual master should never be considered an ordinary man. One should strictly adhere to the instructions of the spiritual master, for if he is pleased, certainly the Supreme Personality of God is pleased. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan na gati kutopi. Om ajnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Nama om Vishnu padaya Krishna preshtaya bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yasya Sakshat Bhagavati Jnana Deepa Prade Gurau Martya Sat Srutam Tasya Sarvam Kunjara Sauchavat. The spiritual master should be considered to be directly the Supreme Lord, because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. Consequently, for one who maintains the material conception that the spiritual master is an ordinary human being, everything is frustrated. His enlightenment and his Vedic studies and knowledge are like bathing of an elephant. The instructions for civilized human beings. That's the title of this chapter. Srila Prabhupada, when he was explaining about Vaishnava, he explains how a Vaishnava is a gentleman. A devotee, by definition, the moment you say he is a devotee, by design, he should be a gentleman. So Narada Muni, whilst explaining about these instructions for civilized human beings, he is helping with so many instructions. And this verse is one of them, where Even if a person is born in a Mlecha, Chandala, Yavana, and low grade family, but somehow or the other, if he has surrendered to a bona fide spiritual master, then his life is completely transformed. In Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami Pad is explaining the same point. In verse number 6, 5, 6, he is explaining about how a devotee's birth, his age, gender, caste, creed, and any of those external criteria should be not the basis of considering a person to be a devotee. If a person is blessed by a bona fide Vaishnava, or if he is a disciple of a self-realized soul, he is worshipable, respectable. Without that blessings, all the knowledge, all the panditya one may have, they are something like decoration to the dead body. Suppose if somebody decorates a dead body, what is the value of them? Of course, there are customary that before burying the dead body, they give a final dressing up. But then, what is the point? What is the value? What is the purpose of all the knowledge somebody has acquired if he has not surrendered? 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, shloka number 7. Krishna is explaining a very important statement, because the 10th chapter is called the opulence of the absolute. So in that chapter, Krishna is explaining a very important point in the 7th verse. He says, my dear Arjuna, if somebody has actually understood the opulence of the Supreme Lord, which means he's saying, if somebody has understood the opulence I possess, or I control, or that belongs to me, then one would automatically, naturally subscribe to the path of unalloyed devotional service. Because of his or her acknowledgement that everything that we see, possess, or around us, all those resources, opulences, they belong to the Supreme Lord. Just that knowledge enough alone can make us a very sorted person. What to speak of having an association with a surrendered soul who is already in devotional service. So Narada Muni's point is, it is impossible, and it is definitely not going to be fruitful for a person without having a bona fide spiritual master. Let us discuss this current shloka from 3 different angles, 3 different perspectives. Perspective number 1, or the reflection number 1, is spiritual master is as good as Krishna. So let us, this is something that I'm sure all of you practicing devotees would have heard this zillion times and be knowing about it. but we'll turn this for a bit. Why and how? Spiritual master should be considered to be directly the Supreme Lord. Why is explained here, but we will a little bit elaborate on the why. Narada Muni is saying because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. The Supreme Lord, he is our father, mother. And Supreme Lord is constantly working for getting us back to him. As a parent who has lost their children, what they do, they make strategies to somehow or other get their children back or keep searching for their lost children. Krishna is like that. Krishna's agenda is single-pointed agenda towards all the suffering souls is he somehow or other keeps an eye on us, try to provide all the necessary help for us, and wanting to get us back in his home. And a Vaishnava, a surrendered soul, a sincere Vaishnava, who has surrendered to the lotus feet of Krishna, absolutely knowing the heart of Krishna, knowing Krishna's desire, he dedicates his life for that desire. It is very obvious. I love someone, I would work for getting what my beloved want. If I love someone, if I like someone, if I consider someone as my master, and I don't do anything for him or her, then it's just humbug. So if I love Krishna, if I am surrendered to Krishna, then I should know the heart of the Supreme Lord and try to work for it at any cost. That is why the fundamental activities of a self-realized soul is delivering fallen souls. Name Ruchi, Vaishnava Seva, together combined, they do Jive Doya. Because they have tasted the holy name, because they have got the blessings of Vaishnavas, which means predecessors, these two combined make them for one single mission, which is Jive Daya. This Jive Daya mission means delivering the suffering souls from the whirlwind of materialistic life. But the interesting part, why they are compared with the Supreme Lord is, even Krishna, after expressing his desire, making a statement to say that I am available and will reciprocate according to your surrender, Krishna starts to focus his energy towards his beloved devotees. He is available for us, but he is available proportionate to our surrender. Yetam mam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyam. He is saying, I'm available to you, but proportionate, directly proportionate to the surrender that you'll exhibit. From that standpoint, Krishna is definitely helping. But look at Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas go one step ahead of Krishna and trying to do even what Krishna doesn't want to, venture out, which is doing a repeated follow-up, taking extras, pain, making some endeavors so that we somehow or other get some transformation. So it is just not alone because the self-realized soul is imparting transcendental knowledge, but the endeavor that he or she undertakes till the point in time where we accept the transcendental knowledge, the endeavor that they take makes them pujaniya, worshipable to the extent of Supreme Lord. Because it is the mission of the Supreme Lord which they have understood. So, in our devotional life, one secret that we should always know is the day I subscribe to the Lord's mission as my life's goal, I will get all the necessary enablement from the entire universe because I am executing the Lord's mission. It is like I am representing the government. I am representing the mission of a prime minister or president. Then every support system will be available for me. Every possible support system will be available for me. If I am doing something on my own, I have risk on my own. But if I am subscribing to some, great mission of government or some authorities, so if I am taking Krishna's mission, then all the support, all the necessary blessings are going to be with that person. And if I take the mission of that person as my mission, along with all the support systems that that person had, even Krishna will walk along with us. Because it is not only Krishna's mission, we are also loving Krishna's dearest children who are spearheading them. One devotee mentioned this. If you want to take an appointment of a very big and important person, learn to love their children, love their pets, love their beloveds. You can easily befriend them. He used to say, love me, love my dog. The moment I'm attracted to those to which he is attracted, and I'm giving attention to them, then naturally I become easily closer to that person. So just because Krishna is desiring to get us back, Vaishnavas are keen in following that instruction, not just as the sake of formality, but dedicating their life entirely for that mission. A Vaishnava is as good as Supreme Lord. In fact, one time Krishna was talking to Arjuna. This is from Padma Puran. Krishna was telling Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, if the whole world is existing, if the climates are coming and changing, if everything is in order, it is not just because of me, it is because of the existence of my devotee. And he made one more further statement to say, even I am existing because of the presence of my devotee. So my first reflection is that treating spiritual master as Krishna's representative or as good as Krishna, it is not just a formality, or this is not just a some lip service. It is devotional service. So many acharyas have established that. I will make another statement and end my first reflection. If you see entire Srimad Bhagavatam, one devotee mentioned this perspective. It's a very nice perspective. The entire Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but Vyasadeva's offering glorification of his spiritual master. I mean, the Bhagavatam that we are reading, if you see from 1st canto till 12th canto, whilst Vyasadeva is narrating glories of Krishna, he is making sure in every glory that he is talking about Krishna, he is bringing in Narada Muni. Or he is narrating all those stories in which Narada Muni is involved. I am sure there are many other, pastimes where Narada Muni was not involved. Vyasadeva could have brought them here. But Vyasadeva is very nicely presenting. So this is the subtle gratitude or direct gratitude to demonstrate that my Krishna consciousness existence, survival of my Krishna consciousness is possible only when I worship, glorify my spiritual master. Narsinghadev was pleased with Prahlad Maharaj and was trying to offer so many benedictions to Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj's response was, or Prahlad Maharaj's immediate reaction to that is, all those things are okay. Please allow me, let me go and thank my spiritual master Narada Muni, for without him, I would not be in whatever state I am. Pundalika in Pandharpur, he made Vittal Rukmani to wait till he performs his services to his spiritual masters, in his case, his parents. Jogyata vichare kichu nahi bhai, tomara karuna shara, karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya, prana na rakhi poara. So, hence my first reflection is that a Vaishnava, a spiritual master, is treated as good as the Supreme Lord because he does what Krishna wants, and his perseverance and his extra endeavor and walking an extra mile and making that as his life's mission make him worshipable like Krishna, because he is giving Krishna, he is endorsed by Krishna, and Krishna is actually residing in his heart. Naham basami vaikunte na yogi hridaye ravau mat bhakta yatra gayanti tatra nishtami narata. Now let's take the second reflection. Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport that his study of Vedas and his austerities and penances for enlightenment are all useless, like the bathing of an elephant, whose, if one considers spiritual master as an ordinary human being. This is a very standard mistake a person keeps committing, considering spiritual master as an ordinary person. Because of our material conditioning, we try to see everyone, everything from our context only, generally. The way our perception is, we perceive things based on what I like and what I know. If anybody supports what I like, and if anybody endorses what I know, I befriend them. But if anybody challenges, questions what I like vis-a-vis what I know, then our ego gets immediately hurt. So Krishna, while explaining in the 10.7 shloka, is very nicely telling that because of his understanding, he surrenders to unalloyed devotional service. And the purport of that means he is ready to change his swabhava. Because I am ready to surrender to Krishna, for me to surrender to Krishna, some part of my character, which is not currently conducive for surrender, has to be changed. If I will be firm on my likings and dislikings, and I try to arrange everything around that, that's not devotional service.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. How about you?
A person who is surrendered to a bona fide spiritual master,
I'm just getting back
or a person who is
couple
called
days
a
off
bona fide spiritual
on
master,
vacation.
that bona fide spiritual master is the one who does not have his personal.
Yeah. I'm doing all
Hare
right,
Krishna,
yeah.
Vinod Prabhu, can you please mute yourself? So it is important, or somebody who can give me a, who is the host can mute him. So it is extremely important for us to understand that in our journey to Krishna consciousness, it is imperative that we are trying to acknowledge, trying to walk that path. That is why in pure devotional service definition, they said there is no other agenda for that person. His only agenda is that anukulyena Krishna anusilanam. So if I am ready to change my character, the character changing is surrender to the bona fide spiritual master. So my second reflection is that considering him as an ordinary person is a standard problem, and the way that situation can be avoided is when we learn to understand, when we learn to acknowledge that for my devotional service, I need to change, and I can't change, I won't change till someone helps me, brings me out of my suffering condition. I am stuck in a whirlwind, I'm stuck in a place, I'm stuck in a situation where I can't help myself to come out. I need someone to come out. This is a standard practice, whether it is business, whether it is marriage, whether it is education, whether it is any sorts of, what you call as, activities. We need a mentor. Experience of the experienced person should be, accepted. If they are not accepted, then we will become an experience for somebody. Our story, our failure will be lesson for somebody. So rather, let's take the experience of the experienced person. Jnaninas Tattvadarshina. They have seen the truth. As we always say, a daughter will accept, will realize his mother was correct when she has a daughter who challenges her decisions. When we were in our school days, college days, we have so many times challenged, disagreed, disobeyed, disregarded, thinking that I know. But when we are becoming an adult or coming into the responsible shoes, that's when we realize how our parents were correct, how our elders were correct, how our guru was correct, how our teacher was correct. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is trying to help us save several years in our life just by few shlokas. Yesterday evening, I was speaking in a Bhagavatam class in our congregation. We were speaking from 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Daksha Prajapati episode. So Daksha was offering his prayers. Daksha was trying to ask sorry to Lord Shiva. At that time, in that prayer, this is from 4th canto, 7th chapter, text number 15. Daksha was telling to Lord Shiva, my dear sir, I did not know your glories. Without realizing your glories, I made so many mistakes. And thanks that you punished me. Otherwise, what hope I have to rescue myself from this trouble. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining a beautiful purport there, and we were analyzing that how a person when he is dying, a person when he has seen failures, a person who is self-realized, a person who is not only self-realized but experienced, but also your authority, never undermine their statements. A dying man will not tell a lie. A person who failed, and when he is giving you some advice, his advice will have some weightage. A person who is self-realized, his words are very powerful. A person who is experienced and an authority for you, his being a well-wisher to you will make his advice very relevant and relatable for you. So let us learn to not undermine them. And unfortunately, our ahankara makes us to undermine. What to speak of spiritual master, we undermine even Krishna. That is why he says in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti mamuda manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. So great fools deride me as an ordinary human being. And if you can extrapolate, great fools deride spiritual master to be an ordinary human being. So my second reflection is that spiritual master treated as an ordinary human being is a common problem nowadays because of we giving importance to our ideologies, our thinking, our willing, our feeling, our choices, being self-centered, and we tend to undermine the spiritual master's contribution. And by the time we realize them, it is a bit late. So hence, Bhagavatam, through various episodes, including here Narada Muni, is trying to insist that never take the words of spiritual master lightly or not. His words are, he's not even an ordinary human being. The reason he's not an ordinary human being is he's empowered. And the last reflection associated with that is, why is it that we are, even after hearing so many instructions on this matter, we are still beating around the bush, not able to completely surrender? There are 3 reasons. There are 30 reasons we can give, but I'll give you 3 reasons. Number 1, familiarity. Number 2, overconfidence. And number 3, The most important thing is procrastination. I will tell you all the three things and we will conclude this session. Familiarity, as Prabhupada is explaining in this purport, that family members, neighbors, relatives, the way they deal with them, we also think that this guy could be a normal guy. That's what Brahma's problem was. Brahma knew Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, but for Brahma to accept our dearest Vrindavan Bihari, our dearest Krishna, as his master, as a small child, being his master, he couldn't comprehend. After Aghasura Vada, so many demigods, they started praising Krishna and Brahma got bewildered. So sometimes closest proximity, familiarity breeds contempt. So that is why too close too soon to certain things are to be avoided. Too close too soon to deities. Too close too soon to self-realized soul. Too close too soon to the great people. Too close too soon to Dham. Too close too soon to scriptures. They are all sometimes have detrimental effect. That hence Krishna consciousness is an incremental and a systematic process. If somebody suddenly studies Vidagdha Madhava, Lalita Madhava without studying Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, step by step and trying to understand how Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, suddenly going and studying Krishna's Raslila and intricate esoteric pastimes, they will bloop. Jayapataka Maharaj was once giving a class in Vrindavan Dham. He said that please understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission and try to take part in his mission by being a sincere follower and not fall prey to Sahajism. Because in Vrindavan, there used to be, I'm not sure if there are now still there used to be people who were prematurely jumping into Gopi Bhava and some sort of a Sahajiya mentality. To that extent, they give up even ISKCON and Srila Prabhupada's association. And Jayapataka Maharaj mentioned that some of his disciples, they did that, couldn't cope up, and they eventually landed up in being a blue collar job in a petrol pump. What happened to your Gopi Bhava? So Jayapataka Maharaj was warning that too soon, too close. In fact, we have a warning to all the personal secretaries to self-realized souls or proper disciples that be careful, because some of the activities you may not be even able to comprehend, and if you land up in comprehending and giving a purport or some explanation to that, it might be detrimental. So all those who are doing personal services to great saints, it's not an easy service, even though it is a wonderful service, glorious service. So only matured devotees can take up that service. So my point is familiarity. Second aspect is about overconfidence. What is that overconfidence? Yeah, I know everything. Now, this is what I feel. This is what, especially those of us who are all exposed to Bollywood and so many so-called celebrities narration. Dil ki baat suno. I don't even still know what does it actually mean. That it might mean some a very powerful statement. Dil ki baat, you don't even know who you are. You don't even know what is proper Siddhanta. You don't even access to have with the devotees. And dil ki baat suno, my dil says that 24 hours you do sense gratification. So sometimes we are so much overconfident about what I feel vis-a-vis what I'm supposed to subscribe. If I just go by what I feel and I just do only those things, sometimes we may land up in doing something wrong. So this overconfidence is something that we need to be wary of, because at the end of the day, if we give weightage to our choices, which is not ratified, which is not verified, which is not supported by Shastric views, then we may be watering a weed rather than a proper seed. The third aspect is procrastination. That because of our extended attachment towards sense gratificatory things, we will say, yes, yes, I know my Gurudev is self-realized soul. I will surrender unto him. I will just go. In some time I will go. In some days I will go. In some months I will go. Let me finish this and I will go. I know it is correct, but I will take some time. So we keep procrastinating. And the more we procrastinate, the more we are at loss. Recently I heard a lecture from one of my godbrothers where he mentioned very nice point. He said, when wealth is lost, nothing much is lost. When health is lost, something is lost. But when character is lost, everything is lost. So from that perspective, in our character development, we need to learn to challenge ourselves. We need to learn to challenge our mind. We need to learn to challenge our senses. And 9 out of 10 instances, we won't be able to do that, and we give ourselves into that. And that's when spiritual master play a significant role. But Ravindra Swarup Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, who is more important, book Bhagavata or devotee Bhagavata? Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, Prabhupada said to him, he said, devotee Bhagavata is very special because he can tweak your ears and get you to the lotus feet of, Supreme Lord. So only spiritual masters take that step like a well-wisher, like a father. He tried to catch hold of our ears and get us to the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. So these are the 3 sets of reflections that I wanted to register for this particular, verse. As a summary, I want to conclude by saying, number 1 is that a spiritual master is treated as good as Krishna because he does what Krishna wants, and he does with an extra endeavor, with an extra, care and love, with perseverance, knowing Krishna's heart. And he not only gives us Krishna, and he stays with us so that eventually he can take us to Krishna. And whilst he might not just give just knowledge, he helps us to apply that knowledge in our lives. He not only makes us Krishna conscious, he crushes us our ego and makes sure that this human form of life is meaningful. The second reflection is that a spiritual master is seen as an ordinary human being because we give weightage to our own ideologies, because we try to see a near and dear ones, treating them, like any other normal person, because we have so much of confidence. We have got the superiority complex that what I think, what I feel, what I know is, what is correct. With that ideology, we tend to, disrespect or see them as an ordinary person. Our vision is very subjective, so we need to definitely take the help of self-realized soul to understand some people. And last but not least, that familiarity, overconfidence, and procrastination are 3 reasons which makes us not to take advantage of spiritual masters in our life, and we would be seen as the most unfortunate soul when we have a spiritual master and when we have not taken advantage of them. So Narada Muni is warning and trying to also explain how a surrendered soul, a self-realized soul, his association, his participation in our life will make our life much, much sorted than otherwise. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. As usual, like your other classes, today's class is also so much full of reflections, realizations, and Shastric conclusions about Guru Padashraya. And how to make our consciousness prepared to when we think of Guru, when we follow his instructions. It's very, very important that we avoid the pitfalls that happens in regular course when we are dealing with Guru's instructions or thinking of Guru, because he is representative of Krishna. So even Krishna had chose a Guru to show us that, and Tadvidhi Pranivadam Pariprasnana Sevaya. So my question is from Prabhuji, is the choice of Guru, like Prabhupada, he took 11 years to take initiation. But in today's pretext, I mean, today's situation, it would seem quite far-fetched. 11 years you are taking to decide a Guru. And what happens is that people fall to the problem. I mean, the easy trap of familiarity. I am familiar with these gurus, other disciples, so let me also. So that is the way it happens, and then the familiarity, not directly to the guru though, but to the guru's senior disciples, that comes in, and that dilutes the richness, because we know the bandhu mui savdhana mate, that savdhana mate is out the window, is thrown out the window some of the times. So first of all, like this familiarity thing, should it be the deciding factor to decide a guru, or should it be like who would be able to who has all the transcendental qualities, who has no bad qualities, and the third is that who would be able to deliver me from this birth, and who would be able to get me the Krishna prema. So this is very difficult for regular people. I know Prabhupada took 11 years. So what we should do to find a guru and take a padashraya, so that we do not fall into this trap of this familiarity breeds contempt situation?
Very important question, and also and not a straightforward answer that I can give, because it varies from situation to situation and person to person. But I'll try to share some principles. Number one, nowhere it is mentioned that we need to search a spiritual master soon. It is mentioned that we all need to have a spiritual master. The moment you are started searching for a spiritual master, you are as good a disciple as one who has a spiritual master. The reason is, when I am searching for a spiritual master, my heart is saying, I am ready to bow down, surrender to someone. The moment I am ready to bow down and surrender, some ahankara is going, and when some ahankara is going, some intelligence is given. So this is a spiral. So it is not an urgent agenda, but an important agenda. So it is not that if Prabhupada took 11 years, that's okay. There are people who have taken 15 years, 20 years. It is not the time scale that matters, but the intensity that matters. if the intensity is like His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, from the time he wanted to search for the spiritual master and finally he came and met Srila Prabhupada in India, so he had to go through a lot of endeavors. He had been through this. He did a lot of trials. He went to so many other gurus. He found, explored. So it is a very scientific process. So from that perspective, I want to say that we don't need to get concerned about a time scale, 11 years are over, 13 years are over. So long as the intensity, so long as the sincerity is there, then we don't need to bother about time scale. The second aspect is, Prabhupada writes in 4th canto, in Dhruva Maharaj's episode somewhere, he's saying that if you are sincere and your intensity for getting the absolute truth is, intact, then even Krishna participates in facilitating a meeting with your spiritual master. So he is explaining this in case of Dhruva Maharaj, that Narada Muni did not even know what happened in Dhruva Maharaj's palace. But because of Dhruva Maharaj's intensity, surrender and gravity, somewhere Narada Muni was, informed by the Paramatma, and he was made to come to help Dhruva Maharaj. And if I can extrapolate this exactly has happened for hippies and Prabhupads. Because it is not a fluke that Srila Prabhupada came to America and met the people in Bauri and tried to help them. So somewhere, the intensity and the genuine hunt for the spiritual master is definitely acknowledged. Now, third question is with respect to the familiarity part of it. The familiarity part of it is something, it is actually good to some extent. Without being familiar, we cannot even serve. But we are talking about ati parichay, extra familiarity, beyond the necessary. So I need to be, because Rupa Goswami says, a disciple need to know the spiritual master need to know the disciple. So that much familiarity, know here doesn't mean that just formality knowing, know about the vision, mission, mood, and have some natural surrender towards spiritual master. So familiarity in this context is appreciated, but what I was talking about is extra familiar, ati parichay, over familiarity, which makes you feel colloquial, normal, where you are supposed to give on reverence, you take their instructions for granted. So that can be avoided only when we maintain a distance and logically build the relationship to go closer. We don't go closer just like that, and we have a sincere endeavor to put a filter saying that I am not supposed to judge, I am not supposed to go so close to spiritual master that I try to find fault in him. So it's a very tricky thing. I do not have I do not want to kind of generalize this, because sometimes we also have some bad examples, unfortunately. So this is a matter of individual's sincerity, how much he wants to learn and how much he is vigilant in the process. Krishna also participates, and we will also be able to avoid. And last but not least, I used to always give this as a practical tip to everyone. If you have a friend, if you have a junior to whom you preach to, if you have a senior to whom you look up to, when all these three things are there in a sadhaka's relationship, in a life, then when your subordinate mistreats you or misbehaves or have extra familiarity towards you, it will tell you, teach you how you should be conducting to your seniors. So sometimes when we are given that experience by our juniors, when they take us for granted, that's when we'll realize, or we can realize what I am doing to my seniors. And by having a friend, we will always, a friend who is able to help us, not just say yes, 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 what we say. He is able to help us in validating our action, Such an arrangement will be able to help us withdraw or pull us back from being extra familiar. Am I making some sense here?
So, process of choosing guru, if you could add some, it will be. I know that
process of choosing a spiritual master is a science by itself. It is not a one-way agenda. It is that is why Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So process of choosing a spiritual master, take the help of Shastra, take the help of sadhus, which means fellow devotee friends, and please take the help of Paramatma by a sincere desire, a sincere prayer, a sincere endeavor, persistent endeavor. So many things are going to participate. It is just not a mechanical thing. And there may be failures also because it's Kali Yuga. So we may make some wrong decisions, or we may have some emergency situations, because ISKCON had spiritual masters who gave up their services for some reasons or the other. So those unfortunate things are also possible, because this is Kali Yuga. That is why Prabhupada very clearly said ISKCON is a hospital where there are doctors also, and many are patients also, or some doctors are doctors as well as they are also needing some treatment for their further progress. So it's a very interesting setup. All that we can say is the process is bona fide, the hospital is bona fide, the way we take treatment, the way we try to have relationship with the doctors and obey their advices, whether it is about diet or food or medicines, the way our cure is going to happen. We cannot blame anyone else but for us if the cure is delayed. Making sense?
Yes, so yeah, I also remember that, because I'm trying to bring in here that Jagannath, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had to leave his first guru before taking the Jagannath Babaji as his guru, because the first guru faltered.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else has any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Geeta. Thank you so much for the wonderful class today.
Hare Krishna. I hope your India visit was successful. I'm extremely sorry that after a point in time I didn't cope up with your message. I got busy with some other services.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good visit.
Darshan.
Yes, Prabhuji, everything went off well. Thank you so much. And I had a good visit. But Prabhuji, you mentioned that also over familiarity with the dham is not good. It's the same reason that we should be in reverence.
Yes, because sometimes what happens is that we think, especially, I will give you this perspective. Like you stay in USA, visit dham once in a year or twice in a year. So you will want to make sure that every minute of your stay in dham, you want to make sure that you have best utilization of it. You will get up early in the morning, go for Mangalarati. And try to see to that I do some service, visit this place, completely in dham consciousness. Assume that you're going to stay in dham for 2 months. So you will take certain things lightly. Okay, I will take care of it tomorrow. Oh, if I don't go today, tomorrow anyway there. Suppose you're going to stay in dham for a year. Suppose somebody is going to stay in dham, somehow blessed to stay in dham for the rest of the life. Is the intensity increasing? Is the craving increasing? Is the longing increasing? Then great. If it is decreasing, then something is wrong, which means I have taken things lightly. So I remember very well that whenever we go to Vrindavan or Mayapur, we never miss even a Mangalarti, even if you would have slept at 1 a.m. because we seldom get the chance to visit there. But when we had a longer stay, naturally lethargy kicks in. So Ati Parichay is a very a risky one. So we should be wary of that. Make sense?
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Also, we were told that it is good to visit the dham with sadhu sangat. Is that correct? Not alone.
It is the only way to visit Dham.
Hmm.
I mean, if you visit Dham alone, at least carry a sadhu's instructions with you. So the point is that when you visit Dham, it is very simple, right? I mean, if you have an automobile engineer who explains what went wrong in your vehicle, it's easier for you to understand rather than you stare at your vehicle when it is broken down. Similarly, when a sadhu explains a location, a dham, a pastime, and he explains in that particular place where the pastimes happened, the perspective to see that place changes.
Right.
The relationship is very important for gaining some experience. If Australian Prime Minister sitting next to you and driving in a car or going in a bus or a train, if you do not know who he is any other ordinary person to you. Somebody has to come and tell you, my dear Geeta Mataji, this is Australian Prime Minister.
Right.
Then your whole perspective will change. The whole relationship will change. The way you deal with him, treat with him will all change. That's the same thing. When you visit with sadhu, because they are going to reveal some pastimes, they're going to share some pastimes, which they must have heard from their predecessors, our whole experience becomes very personal rather than being impersonal.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for this nectar class. And as you are always there for us, that hats off to you and all goes to you that you was on another class, but still like, speaking for like 1 hour or I don't know how much you spoke on the other class, but previous class. But here again, you came and gave such a wonderful class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. And
Hare Krishna. Sometimes
and
I
yeah.
also put some bomlas, so this is some redeeming coupon for you. I also do some last minute cancellations because of some emergency. So it's my duty to honor such requests. And thank you so much for considering.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And you explained very nicely about how we should look for our spiritual master, like with the example of His Holiness Radhanath Swami. I know he had like I am sure that all of you, I have read his book, his journey home. So in that book, that is explained so nicely how he uh, went on search of a spiritual master and who is God. So it's very interesting book, Prabhuji. When I started reading it, I couldn't stop it. Just going on reading. It was so interesting, Prabhuji. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Hare Krishna. If nobody has any question or comments, we can end up the call here. Okay. पाञ्चाकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुव्यव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नमाचार्य श्रीदास ठाकुर की जय।
Jai.
श्रील प्रभुपाद की
Jai.
जय। श्रीमद् भागवत की जय। हिज ग्रेस राम गिरधारी प्रभु जी की जय।
Jai.
थैंक यू सो मच प्रभु जी। हरे
Hare
कृष्णा।
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hari Bol.
Krishna.
Hari
धन्यवाद
Bol.
प्रणाम।
Hari
हरि
Bol.
बोल हरि बोल
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari.
हरि बोल।
Hari Bol.